here so far, I've been told I have to be funny. Let's see, she's insulted me already. She could call me dumb, racist, and middle-class white folks, so I'm going to do my best here. Thank you. It is my first Story Slam, and I had to actually ask what that meant, which gives you a little bit of information about me. But let me take you back to 1994. I was minding my own business, city of Boston. Yes, those of us in Red Sox Nation, I apologize in advance, but we are in the playoffs. I live in Phillies Nation too, but so far they're not exciting me. And I get a call from the mayor's office, then Mayor Rendell, and he said, look, we're looking for a parking director. Could you, come down and talk to us in Philadelphia? And I said, well, sir, I know 3 things about Philadelphia. He just let me right in. He said, well, what are they? I said, well, the first is the Liberty Bell. I'd never been to Philadelphia at that point. I said, the Liberty Bell. He's like, yeah. I said, and so I'm good with that one. He said, what else? I said, oh, cheesesteaks. Big with that one. He said, and what's the third? I said, one of your former mayors blew up a neighborhood. I said, so that one I'm not quite sure how to take, but I'm glad I wasn't working for that mayor. So he invited me down. He decided that's a good start, and I came down, and ultimately he told me that Philadelphia should be the 3rd jewel in my triple crown of cities, because I had done both Boston and San Francisco before I arrived on these shores in 1994. And it was like landing in a different planet in many ways. And I could do a whole night of stories, but I don't want that bell to go off, so I'm going to focus here. And I'd been at the parking authority for, I don't know, maybe 2 months at that point, and people had this weird habit of parking on the sidewalk, which really annoyed the shit out of me. And I'd never seen it before. No other city I'd ever lived in had that sort of nuance. And so I sent my parking officers, you're all familiar with them, down to South Philadelphia to ticket the people parked on the sidewalk. Didn't know I was upsetting the universe. I was new in town, although there was no pity for me whatsoever. 5 seconds later, my phone rang. It was the mayor. He said, what the fuck are you doing? My job, sir? I'm in charge of parking. He's like, have you any idea what you've just done? I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. So he explained to me this tradition and said, you need to go down to meet with the Italian Market Business Association, who's called me 14 times in the last hour and a half, and you need to go make this right. I said, okay. So they schedule a meeting for 2 nights later. I call off the troops in the interim so I can get a handle on what's going on here. I go down there. There is a great big table with about 25 Italian men. The youngest is 80. The tallest is 5'1". I walk in the room with 2 staff people who are having a blast. They cannot wait to see what's going to happen here. I sit at the table. The gentleman at the other end of the table stands up. I think he stood up. He was a little guy. And he looked at me, and he pounded his fist on the table, and he said, yeah, this was my intro. He looked at me and said, you've got a lot of balls for abroad. I stood up, pounded my fist on the table, and said, yes, I do, and I find it highly offensive that you park on the sidewalk. That was my welcome to Philadelphia. We still let people, apparently. I don't run the parking authority anymore, although as the deputy mayor I came armed with quarters. I knew parking reg was going till 8 o'clock. I got here at 7:15. I am well trained. Quarters in that meter across the street. But that was my welcome to Philadelphia. And 20 years later, that is still what I tell, the story I tell people when they say, well, how did you find Philly when you first got here? I found it unusual, but I stayed anyway. Thank you all so very much.